It will be turning colder again over the next few days, but certainly nothing extreme. A late week storm system will develop in Texas, move across the deep south, and pass offshore, and we think it will have little impact on our weather for the President's Day holiday weekend. And activities are going to be picking up in the west, so we will talk all about it tonight on This is Joe and Joe looking at the weather.
People who are watching us right now don't understand, but it is a little funny.
Well, let me pay the bills and then we can talk about it. You can support
I
these
hope
crazy
I hope he's
people
going to be
here
able
on
to
the
get
Joe
through
and Joe
this.
Weather You can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. If you do your shopping on Amazon using our referral link that's pinned to the descriptor to this podcast on YouTube, just use the link to get you to Amazon. Amazon throws us some coin for sending you there. Doesn't cost you a cent out of your pocket, and it helps to keep the Joe and Joe Weather Show live podcast commercial free. And we thank those of you who have done that in the past, and hopefully you will do so in the future. And Tempest by Weather Flow, it is the revolutionary Tempest weather system. And if you get one, you join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. It's easy to install, and you can install it almost anywhere because you don't have to plug it in. It runs on solar batteries, and you're all good. So you get some sun, you're fine. The link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board, as well as on the descriptor to this podcast. And Rich Rothmansky is spreading rumors that we have a 10% off feature.
Well, he knows that the coupon code at Tempest is Winter 2026, and indeed, he is correct. If you decide to purchase a Tempest weather station or something else at Tempest, you can get 10% off your purchase as long as you use the Joe and Joe special coupon code again, Winter 2026. Joseph.
So, yeah, we were playing before we went on the air, folks, just sort of reminiscing about an old radio. What was it? It was a feature on News Radio 88. Neil Chayette looking at the law.
This is Neil Chayette looking at the law.
He had this really deep voice, and he would talk about some obscure legal case that nobody cared or nobody understood, but you could tell he was very happy to talk about it. And then
Yes.
he would end it with, a silly joke line, and then close it out by saying, "This is Neil Chayette looking at the law." So anyway, that's what we do here on our off time. Speaking of
It wasn't
off
it wasn't funny, it was punny in
yes,
some cases,
yes.
yes.
Speaking of off time, so here's the schedule going forward, folks, because this is a holiday weekend and there isn't going to be much going on. So we'll be here tomorrow night at our usual time at 7:35, and then we're going to be off through next Monday. So after tomorrow night, we will be back next Tuesday. Okay, being that
How is Reuben Fairchild going to take that piece of news?
Do we care? just putting it out there. So anyway, welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board, and to those of you who are lurking in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're glad you're here, and we are here, as we said, Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m., except for the fact that we just changed the schedule this weekend, and we'll be off from Friday through Monday, and we'll be back next Tuesday. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us, and of course, if you like the show, hit the like button. I don't know about you, but I was never enthused about this coastal system for the weekend, and I was just kind of ready to chuck it in the pan yesterday. I'm about to chuck it in the pan today.
Well, you could chuck away, I guess, but they still have, and admittedly, it has not been updated since 1832Z, which is 1:32 this afternoon. But the folks over at WPC still have the tri-state area.
All right, I'll put the map up here. Hold on a second.
Okay.
bear with me. I'll put the map up on the screen because I saw it too. They actually made it bigger than what they had earlier today. But okay, hang on. I'm just gonna get my little mousey to go on the other side. And here we go. So this is what WPC's got. Go ahead, Joe.
The folks at WPC, as you can see in the light green, that is equivalent to 10 to 30% probability of a quarter of an inch of liquid, which would translate into what, 2 or 3 inches of snow. That's a 10 to 30%. And I have a feeling that when we look at this map tomorrow, there won't be much in the way of green, or if there is,
There
it
won't be
would be
any at all.
mostly it would be either gone or exceedingly small.
Right.
Let's put it that way. The only I on Facebook, Joe, I still said there is the possibility on Monday of a wintry mix or rain, but I also said it would be mostly to the south, and I also said that the storm could very well pass by and not lay a glove on us, and
Right.
that may very well be the case by tomorrow. We'll have the NAM in tomorrow for the time frame that we're interested in, and it doesn't look good. If you're hoping once again, this is going to be the second potential major coastal event that's going to miss out on the New York City metropolitan area because it looks like it's going to pass again too far to the south. And this time, it looks like even for places that did get walloped with lots of snow to the south, like the Virginias and the Carolinas, even though they may be in line for some precip, it looks like it's going to be too warm down there for mostly snow. It looks like more rain than snow, if anything else.
Yeah, it's so Bobby Livingsworth, just to clarify, well, let's clarify two things. James Davidson, Joe Cioffi called it, okay? I called it 2 days ago. Second of all, Bobby Livingsworth, a bust to me is when you predict something and it doesn't happen, okay? Nothing was predicted. It's sort of like saying there's a big, you might as well say if there's a snowstorm in California and we don't get it, that's a bust. All right, so that makes no sense. So if you're forecasting a storm, then it doesn't happen. That is a bust. If you forecast 2 inches and you get 2 inches, that is not a bust. All right. So that word bust has gotten overused and used incorrectly. So, yes, you did word it wrong, and I appreciate you admitting as such. Thank you, Bobby Livingsworth. See, everybody's, it's all cool. We all make mistakes and we get things wrong. And, we just kind of learn from them and then we sort of move on. Correct, Joe?
I think so. Yes, and it
And
looks
why
like
not?
we'll be moving on.
Yes, very quiet tonight on the Watches and Warnings map, unless you're in a handful of counties in central and north central New York. Where we have winter weather advisories. So, by the way, did you get anything last night with that
Yes,
system?
we
That
did. We had initially we had some snow. Initially, we had a sugar coating on the ground, and in fact, when I took the dog out around 11 o'clock and stepped on the snow, it was crunching. It looked like we had little teeny tiny snowballs rather than snowflakes. But then, as the night wore on, that snow gradually melted. This morning, it was a little slick and slippery on the driveway, but even that disappeared very quickly in the later morning hours. And then it started to snow again. And for about 5 minutes, we had light to moderate snow, a brief little burst of snow around 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon. That came, that went, and now right now, looking outside, it was mostly a broken to even scattered type of sky. I was able to see some of the winter stars, Orion and Sirius and Taurus the Bull, but generally speaking, not a bad outlook. I'm sure folks this morning, early in the morning, may have had some slick conditions on some side roads and exit and entrance ramps, but it wasn't a terrible thing as long as you took care of yourself and moved along slowly. You should have been able to make it. Make it. I do know that there were no schools that were delayed, so it really wasn't a big deal. But
but
again, better safe than sorry.
much of the country is very quiet. We've got a few scatterings of winter weather advisories in parts of Utah, eastern Idaho, central Colorado. It's really odd too in this area here in the central and northern, the central Rockies in particular. This winter so far, I mean, we, you could probably count on one hand, if that. They have not had much snow at all, and very few in the way of organized winter storms. I mean, it's been, it has been primarily an eastern winter, and it's also, as Dave Tyler has pointed out yesterday with the drought map. I mean, it's the nation's been bone dry through all of this, and here I can tell you, speaking here in Georgia, uh, we're under any, depending on where you are, you're either under a moderate drought or severe drought, or even or excuse me, extreme drought because we really have had very little rain this winter. And we had 6 inches of snow here up in the mountains a week and a half ago, but very little in the way of rainfall. Cold front has moved on through and passed well to the south. It's actually passed me. We got we had some rain this morning. It rained last night and this morning, and we managed to get up into the 60s, but now we're cooling off a bit. And upper 30s and low 40s, the common highs today across eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, and there's colder air behind it. But this is not an Arctic air mass, really. It's just a standard polar air mass that's coming down, and temperatures are going to be a lower the next couple of days, and they'll be below average, but it's nothing compared to what you had over the weekend.
No, nothing. Oh, but please, please, it has there was no comparison. We probably will still be in the 30s tomorrow and Friday. I don't think we're going to drop below 30 degrees. A few places might actually not make it to freezing, maybe up to like 30 or 31, but most areas will probably be in the low 30s tomorrow, the low 30s on Friday, and then we warm back up to near 40 on Saturday, and it looks like by this time next week, Joe, we could have temperatures in the mid 40s, and in fact, here in the lower Hudson Valley, next Tuesday looks like will be the warmest day around here in almost 4 weeks. So we're climbing the ladder slowly but surely, and we'll be getting back to or even above normal by the time we get to the weekend and into the early part of next week.
The West has been quiet too, but they got some rain yesterday in California, and gradually as we move through the weekend, where we're going to see some snow in the Sierra Nevadas and in a few other places in the western part of the United States. And then checking out the satellite tonight, we've got clouds over the Great Lakes and into the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic states, extending all the way up into southeastern Atlantic Canada as our cold front moves along. It's a little bit of subtropical moisture starting to come into from the Pacific into the Southwest, and that's part of the whole setup there with respect to rainfall. Here's the radar. By the way, there is an area, there are some areas of snow. I mean, you got to go way north of Route 84 to get to it. But along and south of I-90 and down into the Catskills, some of the radar echoes getting closer, but not quite to Sullivan County. But it's been kind of busy in upstate New York with respect to the lake effect today.
Well, I'm not sure if you could call what we had here in Putnam County a break off of that lake effect, but as I said, we did have for a short while this afternoon what looked to be like a hard snow shower. I mean, it looked like light to moderate snow. Renata, called down to me and said, "You ought to look out the window." And sure enough, I look out the window and here it's coming down, almost to beat the band. But it didn't last very long, and maybe it was just a little upper system. I noticed that it got windier or breezier in the aftermath of that system. So maybe it was a little trough of low pressure that came on through that caused that. And actually, we had some breaks of blue sky, but there were more clouds and sun for much of the day. And I expect it's going to be more like a partly to mostly cloudy night tonight, and then a gradual improvement with clearing and more sunshine by later tomorrow, and then lots of sunshine for Friday, and a sweetheart. May I use that term? A sweetheart of a day on Saturday, Valentine's Day, with a fair amount of sunshine, and again, temperatures pushing back up perhaps into the 40s.
Radar in the west around San Francisco is pretty busy. In fact, if you look at the signature on the radar, the little arc that you see that's offshore is around a low that is pushing inland. And there's some heavier downpours that are going on inland of San Francisco and then going up to the north. I
I
think
got to tell
that's
you, it, it I don't know about the people who, the schedule maker or the people who had to make preparations for the Super Bowl in San Francisco, or I don't know who was involved exactly, but boy, they should be kissing their lucky stars or whatever, because what turned out, as I said yesterday, was a beautiful, gorgeous day on Sunday for the Super Bowl. That was anything but that since. I mean, like it rained yesterday, as Joe just mentioned. It's raining again there today. I mean, it could have been disastrous for the big game and also for the halftime show with all of this wet weather that is enveloping. I know the fans probably still would have come because they certainly paid enough probably for the tickets, but it never would have been as good as the weather that they had on Sunday. So they were very lucky, and looks like after the game, boom, everything flipped, and now they're going to be into a pattern. I noticed today, Joe, CPC, Climate Prediction Center, putting out a special statement with key messages saying major pattern change, lots of potential hazardous weather hitting the western half, not the western half, but the western third of the country. All the places that are in the Pacific time zone for heavy amounts of rain, and for the higher elevations, lots of snow as well. It's been anything but that. And mild temperatures, too. They had very mild to warm temperatures. I know they were bragging last week when we were in the deep freeze, Los Angeles, 88 degrees. We're 88 degrees today. Well, guess what? You ain't going to see that for a while. It's going to be a lot chillier, a lot colder than that in the coming days ahead.
uh, figuring we're getting closer to the time where SPC is going to start getting a little busier. So we do actually have an area of marginal risk being indicated for Friday into Saturday in Southwest Texas. And I'm thinking tomorrow will probably, this is for Friday into Saturday. So for the Saturday to Sunday timeframe, I expect to see risk areas being delineated for perhaps central and east Texas into Louisiana and Arkansas and Oklahoma with the next storm system that is going to be heading east. And as far as precipitation goes, now WPC, this goes through next Wednesday night. So I know
There
there's a
may be
system.
something late Wednesday or Wednesday night of next
Well,
week.
yeah, and I think that's why you see the quarter of an inch here.
Right.
It's virtually all of it is probably from that. The stuff that you see from Virginia down southward, then back through the Gulf states. This is going to be for Friday night, Saturday, and Saturday night as that system comes out of Texas and moves eastward. Some 2 inch plus rain amounts in parts of Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma. A fairly large area of an inch plus that extends from North Carolina back westward into Oklahoma and Texas. And again, it's been so bone dry here this winter that the rain is certainly going to be welcome. Meanwhile, uh, you were talking about California. Take a look at the big rains that are being forecast along the coast over
Yeah.
the next 7 days. I mean, we're talking some of these areas in terms of the colors are basically on the order of 5 to 7 inches or more of liquid precip. So that's like an inch a day from San Diego all the way up the coast. And in the Sierra Nevadas, you're looking at maybe 10 inches of liquid plus. And of course, a lot of that, if not all of it, is going to wind up being snow because colder air is going to be working its way into the state of California. So here's the problem. We talked about this yesterday with respect, and the day before yesterday with respect to the upper air as far as the weekend is concerned. And that is, there's your southern shortwave. Okay. In fact, that upper low, we looked at tonight, that back on the radar when we saw that arc of rain over San Francisco. That's where the upper low is right now with the southern stream feature that is going to be moving eastward. And the problem is that if you look in the northern stream, there ain't no shortwave to phase with it. So it just gets kicked out and goodbye. You've got a mostly northwest flow in the upper atmosphere all weekend long, and a warming upper atmosphere, I might add, as the heights start to rise. So there's just absolutely no way on God's green earth that that thing can turn up the eastern seaboard. The reason why the European was doing it in past days was because it kept showing a shortwave in that northern stream coming down and phasing with it. And guess what? There ain't no shortwave. So even the European pretty much ejects this out to the east and underneath us. So the only way we get anything out of this in terms of precipitation, and I think it would be rain, is if it were, it's always possible that you could see some rain sneaking up. And I kind of think again with the northwest flow, I don't know why the model wants to push rain up almost to New York City and Long Island. But I'm not going to say it's impossible. Maybe there's enough there in the up, maybe a little kink in that northwest flow allows it to push upward. That would be the only thing that we'd see, and this would be Sunday into Sunday evening, and then it's all gone by later Sunday night and Monday. So it's a fairly uneventful event. And the other thing is, if you go back a couple of runs, Joe, when the European was giving a foot to a foot and a half of snow for Sunday into Monday, and it was the only model doing it. It was doing it because it had this really dynamic upper low cutting off and a surface low that was down in the low 980s. That was never going to be the case. So you don't have that now, and there's whatever cold air we're getting here tomorrow and Friday is going to start to disappear over the weekend. So there just isn't any real cold air around to speak of.
Right. Last night's 06Z European had a big rainstorm for our area, and I said, "Really? Is that going to be the case?" I was anxious to see the 12Z, the primary run of the European, and then you just said, "That's not going to happen," and kicked it out. All of the operational models, save for one, the Canadian, kept the storm to the south. The Canadian is the only one that brought some snow in here for actually Sunday night, changing to rain on Monday. But that's the only system or the only guidance model that did something like that this afternoon. All the others, including the Icon, the German Icon, European GFS, both the GFS and European AI models, they're all taking that storm to the south. And I suspect that tomorrow, I would hope, that tomorrow all of the models, including the Canadian, will be on the same page, and even the NAN as well.
Yeah, we're done with this. Now going forward, the only thing I will say is, and I'm and we talked about this last night with respect to some of the longer range teleconnections in the state of the tropics and the Indian Ocean with the Madden-Julian oscillation. And I was checking them today, and I noticed that much like today and yesterday and the day before, with all the different models they have all different solutions as to where we're going in the next 2 weeks. We're going into the warm phase. We're going into the neutral zone. Some of them have it going to the neutral zone and coming back out in the cold and stormy phase within a week. So they're all over the place. And I think the reason why that is the case is because if we look at the polar vortex in the stratosphere, it is doing all sorts of crazy things. So let's see what it's doing now on the latest model run. And it is ebbing and flowing. Here we go. We're in a stretch mode now. And the polar vortex itself is in a very weakened state. And it can remain stretched. It actually splits on this run in 96 hours. It splits in two. One center goes in Siberia. The other one is between Greenland and Europe and Northern Europe. And then eventually just kind of reabsorbs it, and you wind up with one upper low spinning around and rotating up just now, how would you say this? Okay, if you're going from Greenland toward the North Pole, right? You're going north. So if you're going from
Right.
the North Pole to Siberia, it would be south. So this is actually south of even though it's on the top, that is actually south of the North Pole. So just bear that in mind. But even though it kind of looks like it's wrapped up in a tight little ball, it's very weak. You'll notice all the yellow and orange there. That's above normal in terms of the heights. So the polar vortex might roll itself up into a ball, but it's in a very weakened state, and we're at that point now in the winter, late winter, where the polar vortex starts to weaken, but it seems to be a lot weaker. So that's, I think, that state, Joe, of being in this sort of stretching, stretching like taffy, unstretching, and just being in a general weak state is making models that and the the teleconnections, the Madden-Julian oscillation, and all the rest of it, going in all sorts of different directions. That we're going to continue to be in this world where um, model runs beyond 5 or 6 days are going to be extremely volatile, and it's going to be really tough to figure out where we're going in all of this down the road.
Now I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
At Central Park, so far to this date,
Yes.
it's now February the 11th.
Right.
What do you believe the temperatures have been versus the average? How far below normal?
So you're talking from December 1st to
No,
February
no,
11th?
I'm just talking about the first
Oh,
the
from
first 11
February,
days of February.
what, on average, what, minus 10, minus 11, minus 12,
Oh
minus
yeah,
15,
yep, minus 11.2.
minus 11.2.
Now,
That's a lot.
even if we somehow manage to get back up just to near normal for the rest of the month, you know that we're still going to go below normal, and that would make this probably a winter, meteorological winter, December, January, February, where we had below normal for all 3 months. Which really, you say you think that's easy? It's very hard to do. We have had
Yeah.
more often than not in the last, I think, 20 years, either we've had only one below normal month or maybe two below normal months. Some years we've had no below normal months, but to get three below normal months, that is very, very difficult to do. But
I
it looks
think you
like we're gonna
probably
we're
have to
gonna we're
go.
gonna do it.
I would say you probably have to go back to 2013, 14 for that. And then maybe a couple of winters in the early noughts.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, most of the time, I mean, in an active winter, you get 2 out of the 3 months to be below average temperature wise. That's pretty good for a
Right.
winter weather lover. Yeah, to get all three is not an easy task. Okay, because you're talking 90 days. I mean, it's hard to hold a pattern together much beyond 3 or 4 weeks. Although every
And you
once in
know,
a while you could get into an eight to nine, 10 week stretch. But yeah, this is it's pretty difficult.
and yeah, and the fact of the matter is, we've been going through this now for something like 8 or 9 weeks of below normal temperatures. In some cases, as we've just seen this past weekend, exceedingly below normal,
Right.
brutally cold. And the bottom line of it is that it can't last forever. And it looks like
So
we're, as I said yesterday, I think we're going to see the remainder of February and at least the first half of March at or maybe even above normal. And then finally, everything is going to recycle, and it's going to recycle, I think, probably toward the end of March or maybe even the beginning of April, when we'll have one final shot of cold, and certainly nothing to compare with what we just had this weekend, but
right.
abnormally cold weather for later on, and also in that time frame, maybe one more shot at some significant snowfall. Till then, I really don't think we have too much to worry about or too much to be concerned about.
Okay, so we're 11 degrees below normal, including today, for the first 11 days of February, right?
Right, right,
So that leaves us 17 days left. So the total departure for those 11 days, just to use round numbers, would be 11 times 11, which is 121. Okay.
right.
So if you divide 17 into 121, you get what? What is that? Eight?
Hold
Seven?
on.
Seven, roughly. Seven.
7.11176470.
Okay. So
Seven,
so you
seven, yeah.
you would have over the next 17 days. you would need to average 7 degrees above normal in order for the month to come out zero. Actually,
Zero.
so unless
And
I
that
mean,
ain't happening.
unless there's a huge right, it's not going to happen. So effectively, it's a lock here, where December, January, and February, three below normal temperature months. December and January were above normal snowfall months, so we still have 17 days to see if we can get February over into the above normal side. So that's going to depend on a few things happening. I just think the pattern going forward for the next couple of weeks is going to be highly variable. And, at times it's going to look like it's going to, warm up for a couple of days. At times it's probably going to look like it's going to chill down for a couple of days. The Pacific is open, so there are going to be systems moving along in the flow. So it'll be, you know, I think I kind of tend to think that there'll be an opportunity sometime after this weekend, beyond this weekend, where we could get some accumulating snow. That's my prediction. I was right about the second half of January, so I'm going to go on a limb here and say that there will
Give
be
me,
will
give
be
me,
some
give me,
chances for the second half of February. You want to
give
share?
me, give me, Sherry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right.
It's
Just to
all
remind everybody,
yours.
boom. This was CPC's seasonal temperature outlook for this winter, December through February 25, 26. And as you can see, they had us in the above normal category. So
Right. It's also
they,
been equally wrong for having below normal. I bet you if you look at the anomalies in Montana and westward into Washington and Idaho, where they have below normal, that didn't happen either. They got the Southwest probably okay. I'm not sure about the Southeast either, because, we had a warm start, but then it got cold. Uh, mid-January on, and certainly through this first part of February. Yeah, I mean, clearly that was for the second year in a row. You know, they do this boilerplate every year. It's like, okay, what's the La Nina? What's the El Nino? This is the boilerplate for a moderate El Nino. This is the boilerplate forecast for the template for a strong La Nina or a weak La Nina, and then they just mail it in. So, it's sort of, to me, it's just sort of they reflexively do above normal every single year in the eastern part of the U.S.
yep,
So, what's the point? Okay, what is the point? You know what the point is, Joe? I'll tell you what the point is. The point is that, if we have 100 likes, you get to ring the bell. Do you have 100 likes? I can't see.
yep. 76.
Well, we need folks to like the show. So if you like the show, hit the like button and take us over 100 likes. And in the meantime, let's do. I got Briller Jeopardy here. And we didn't do it last night, so we'll do it tonight. So there is tonight Briller Jeopardy, courtesy of Scott Briller. Uh, the five biggest snowstorms in New York City, as measured at the Park Central, are five biggest. Joe Rayo,
The five biggest what?
the five biggest snowstorms in the month of February.
Oh, I'm sorry. Um, okay.
Well, let's see if the
So,
chat board might have something to say
all right.
on this
Yeah,
too. Um, So, I mean, I could give some hints here. Uh, uh, David Dano, 1888 is March. Okay, so just so
March.
you know. Let's see. Rothmansky gets number one. Joe, number one. Do you know which the number one is in February?
I don't think it's the blizzard of 78.
No, it's not.
Although that was a very, I still am annoyed with that though, Joe, because they didn't really measure that snow properly.
Right.
I mean, I had 22.2 inches in Throg's Neck, and somehow they ended up with what, 17.1 in Central Park,
17.7.
17.7. Yeah. Um,
So, can you guess the one in February that Rich Rothbansky is alluding to?
No.
February 11th and 12th of 2006, 26.9 inches. 26.9. So that is
And that
on
was
the list.
and that stayed as the number one, I think, for only 10 years. Less than 10 years, because in January of 2016 they had what, 27.5?
Right. That
Yeah.
was. Okay. Let's see. Robert Lobnicki and Bobby Livingworth. Okay, Robert Lobnicki gets what's the number two, which was February 25th, 26, 2010. And Bobby Livingworth gets the other one, which is number three. Number three, 2003, February 16th, 17th of 2003, 19.8 inches. So the top three storms have occurred in the last 26 years, or 20, I'm sorry, 23 years in the month of February. Now there's two more. There's two left. And Mark France Sr., you got one of them, number five, which is the um, February 11th and 12th, 1983, 17.6. Okay. So that was the megalopolitan one. And the last one, see if anybody mentioned the other one. James Davidson, February 1979 in New York City. New York City got over a foot out of that, but it didn't make the top five. The amounts were higher in to the south. Let's see. Anybody have?
What about February 5th of 1961?
Nope, not in there.
Hmm.
But Bobby Livingsworth again gets it. You did mention it, Joe. The blizzard of '78 is number four.
17.7.
17.7 from
Yeah.
the fifth through the seventh. So that was a long duration event. So those are the top five. Starting with number five, February 11th and 12th, 1983. February 5th through the 7th, 1978 was number four. Number three, February 16th, 17th, 2003. Number two, February 25th, 26th, 2010. And number one was February 11th and 12th, 2006. And was it Bill Goodman that put up that chart thing about the most likely day to see measurable
Yes,
snowfall?
it was
Okay,
Bill
and I
Goodman on
apparently
his
my
site.
birthday, which for years it never snowed on my birthday, never snowed on my birthday growing up, never snowed or hardly ever snowed on my birthday, and it suddenly became like number one because it snowed a whole bunch of times on the 27th of January. But now we're in a drought again, and it hasn't snowed on my birthday for the last 10 years.
Hasn't snowed on my birthday for the last 69 years.
Yeah, well, yours is a little bit on the tough side to do, unless you celebrate your birthday, like in southern Australia in the mountains or in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so it's a little tough to do it in August. So anyway, uh, I don't have much else going on. We had some rain today. Right now, it's 48 degrees because the front went through. We did get to the low 60s. Yesterday was my warmest temperature, probably going back to last November. I got to 71 and a half, which was really, really nice. But I know I'm getting old because even then I didn't really feel that warm. I'm starting to feel cold all the time. And I was always somebody that always was, hot. Always felt hot.
Hmm.
Um, but it's catching up to me. So anyway, anything you want to add before we say goodnight?
No, there's nothing. Again, we'll be here tomorrow, and then after tomorrow, we're not coming back until next Tuesday.
Right. Did we get to 100 likes or no?
Let us see. I'm going to reset. As I said, my counter for the likes doesn't work until after we get to 200. Then it starts doing stuff. But
Last point that Steve Lapointe put up that we were at 95, but I haven't seen. Thank you, Ruben. Appreciate that. I'm the GOAT, he says. So we're still at 95. Oh, come on. 5 more people. You can't hit the like button? I promise we'll end the show if you get us over 100 likes. I'll shut the show down. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, well. If we don't get it while we're live, we'll get it overnight on the replays because a lot of people watch the show. By the way, you can also find us on Spotify, and you can also find us on the various podcast platforms because Joe and I are, we're big. I mean, we're big everywhere, just like Ethel.
That's why she didn't like the hostess pants.
That's yes.
Joe, my
Well, that
counter
was
says
when
we
her
have
father said. I think her father said she's big in these parts.
my my counter says we have 99 likes now.
All right, so just get it ready. Unless there's a smart ass out there that's gonna take it down to under 100 once it gets to 100. Um, okay, you were told you can ring the bell.
102. Thank you for
Beautiful.
the 100 plus likes.
And as I promised, we're saying good night. Good night.
Good night, folks.